You know how kids tend to have crude, over-imaginative questions all the time? One of mine has finally been answered. Mommy, why don't men make babies with those big bumps like the one you have? She could never articulate an answer satisfying enough for my little brain, so the question remained a mystery to me. Of course, until I grew up and could get my head around it. At least until my own bump came around. As I stepped out of the shower one morning, I noticed myself looking a little bloated. Weird, I thought, given that I hadn't eaten dinner the night before nor had breakfast yet, but I didn't give it much attention beyond that. At least until the bloating had only increased come the next morning, and the next. After a little while, it was clear to me that this wasn't bloating of any kind. My stomach protruded slightly and formed a harder exterior than that of my typical bloated self. It grew ever so slightly day by day until curiosity morphed into genuine worry, if not fear. I'd always been a bit of a dramatic person when it came to medical issues, and this was only exacerbated when something unexplainable came along every now and then. This was certainly one of those times. After some initial poking, prodding, and testing, I found myself lying on a hospital bed, whilst the older gentleman doctor who'd always treated me lathered a smooth gel all over my stomach. He then grabbed a small handheld device and began to wave it over the concerned area, whilst looking at a screen propped up by my bedside. Supposedly it was nothing beyond a precautionary check. The look on his face told me otherwise. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Listen, Leo, I'm not quite sure how to say this, and we still need secondary tests to confirm, but you appear to have something growing inside of you. What the fuck do you mean, growing inside of me? Like a baby? I'm not really in a position to say at the moment, and as I said, there is the possibility of faulty equipment or an otherwise inaccurate result, but it certainly does not appear to be the typical fetus. It appears to be far larger than one should be at this stage, almost large enough for delivery. As a matter of fact, I struggle to imagine how something so large hasn't correlated to an equally large abdomen. He paused for a moment before continuing. Not to mention, you are entirely the wrong sex in terms of almost all of the biological processes that would be required for the nurturing and delivery of a child. I quite honestly don't know what to say. Will you allow me a minute? He took far longer than a minute and returned with a gaggle of older nurses and fresh-faced interns. They excitedly stood over me as if I were some freakish science experiment, something to nudge and prick and observe. The rest of that day was a deluge of being whisked from test to test whilst listening to the confusing medical jargon being thrown about. And when they told me I was free to go in the evening, I was just about ready to forget about it all and pass out until whenever the exhaustion was gone. Despite the tiredness, fears, and anxieties, I would never have imagined having ran circles around my mind at an impossible pace while I struggled to fall asleep. What was wrong with me? Tears made their way out of my eyes and nestled in an ever-growing pool on my pillow as I desperately tried to forget the events of that day. To somehow trick myself into believing it was all mere fiction rather than terrifyingly haunting truth. I almost succeeded too, until it began to kick. It began slowly, subtly, almost difficult to discern from the ever-growing beating heart in my chest, or the growling hunger of my unfed stomach. Not difficult enough, though. It was as if it was in tune with my anxiety, with my fears. As I grew increasingly afraid, the kicking intensified. Kick. 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 Not the fluttering kicks of a baby adjusting to its surroundings. The kicks of something trying to escape. I tried so desperately to make it stop, to keep it inside, but my efforts were futile. Bang. 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 My bump began to twist and contort, the pain enough to make me scream over and over, and yet it never relented. Blood and pus slowly seeped out in increasing quantities until they began to form a pool of disgusting filth at my feet. Blackness engulfed me as the pain became overwhelming, and before long I was out. And so was it. The blindingly white lights of a sterilized hospital room greeted me the next time I woke up. Supposedly 3 weeks later, I looked down to see an excess of bandages wrapped around my abdomen, with the silver lining of it seeming to have returned to its normal size. In an effort to understand things and ask for some badly needed food and drink, I pressed the little button indicating I needed help on my bedside call bed. Before long, the footsteps of an incoming nurse echoed down the hallway outside my room. A younger male nurse walked in, his face clad with a light blue surgical mask and his white scrubs pristine. The look on my face was enough for him to launch into a comforting monologue about how something abnormally large crawled out of my stomach that day, about how the authorities couldn't find it, about how close I came to losing my life in the surgeries they put me through. By the time all was explained, and after a great many tears, I tried to stand to give him a hug before realizing I was far too weak for that. I settled for his crouched down one-armed improvisation before asking him a final question. "Hey, what did you say your name was again? I want to write you and the rest of the staff a card." "Oh, it's Leonardo, but you can call me Leo for short." He peeled his mask away from his face before smiling at me, and I saw myself. What's up, y'all? It's your favorite ginger, the soulless. In this episode, just real quick, I want to take a few minutes of your time to show you the progress on the Horror Stories channel and how all of you that have subscribed to me and that watch my videos consistently have seriously helped me out. This is just the last 28 days. Look at that watch time right there. 121.2 hours. That's crazy. The amount of views that the channel has gotten, even if it's not getting that many subs. That's still a huge number. The goal to be able to do superfan stuff is 500 subscribers. And the goal to be able to actually get paid for my videos is much more than that. It takes 1,000 subs, and I have to have 4,000 public watch hours. The gaming channel sitting at 153 views, 39.7 hours of watch time, which is pretty good considering I've been putting most of my effort into this channel lately. That's not a whole lot compared to my other channel, but thank you all for watching. Share the video with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching.